computer. Okay, so we're gonna look at some five-number summary work here. And so what I'm going to do, so what I've got. So just to look at some data you folks haven't seen yet. Let's see. So I've got this data that I pulled up for Starbucks coffee. All right, and so I've got the calories. Notice here in order. There's a lot of data there too, so I don't want to do this by hand. So what I'm going to point you to here, let me copy this first off. I'm going to select all this data. Getting the data into the spreadsheet is a great thing. Now I can use the spreadsheet to calculate all these values. Spreadsheets do the quartiles weirdly. It's like, do you include the median, exclude the median, whatever. So you better off using statistical software for this. I mean, if this were like for the exam one, you're gonna have to go collect some data and do the calculation of the five-number summary. Using the spreadsheet, that's fine because you're making me happy. You're not trying to make my open math happy, or WebAssign. So, but to get WebAssign happy, here, let's come back to the course. If you go to modules, click on course resources, do you see this online statistical tools? I guess I had to change that, updated April 8th. It's a long time ago. It was not even this year. So I've got all these calculators, applets online, and we're going to do a box plot. Click on box plot. We're looking for box plots, five-number summaries, etc. And then what you're going to do is you're going to clear the data that's in here. I'm going to paste in that Starbucks calories data. In fact, I'm even going to say calories in Starbucks drinks because they're all coffee. I mean, they're sweet stuff. Update the data. Okay, and then that makes the graph. And ooh, that looks weird. That isn't usually what this looks like. Do I have all the data right? Here we go. Oh, that's right, because I changed it. I changed that number. Okay, just a minute here. Let me fix that. What was it? I'm going to make it up. Doesn't really matter. Update the plot. Okay, there we go. That looks a little better. And there's my box plot. Now, it's going to be a little hard in this graph because we don't have a nice, neat numbers. But to answer the question that you posted, one of my CCV students posted this yesterday. How do I figure out? Get a pointer going. So how do I know what the lower quartile is, what the upper quartile is? Well, the five-number summary consists of the minimum and the maximum, the lower quartile, the upper quartile, and the median. So if I gave you a box plot and I said, what's the lower quartile? Well, this one's kind of weird because it's right there. If we could figure out what number that is, and the one that you asked about in the discussion forum has nice, neat numbers. So that would be Q1. That's going to be the lower quartile. And here's the upper quartile right there. So the 75% mark, right? That's Q3. So this is P sub 25. This is P sub 75, right? And of course, this is the median, which is also called quartile 2, which is P sub 50, if you wanted to think about it that way. Okay, so that's how you get that data off the box plot. Now, how do I come up with those numbers when I get miserable numbers like that? The great thing here, let me clear off all this writing. The great thing about this applet, you paste it in, you click on show statistics, and there we go. And that's what lower quartile 60, upper quartile 190, median's 130, maximum 360, minimum zero. Okay, so that's it would have been hard to see that on that graph with the way the number was, the scale was. Okay, but that's how you can get it. It's right there. Now, somebody else asked about the 1.5 Iqr test. Now, let me close this. Actually, what I'm going to do, I'm going to screen capture this before I go too far. It's not letting me screen capture it. Well, let me write it down then. Just a minute here. We've got 60 for Q1. We've got 190 for Q3. Okay. So how can we tell if there's an outlier here? Well, one way to do it is see where it says uncover outliers. Now this says there's no outliers there. Okay, so we're going to go through this process and see that there's no outliers. Now, Will that make me happy on an exam? No, I want to show you. I want you to show me this next thing. Okay, so let's do that. Let's actually let me come back to the spreadsheet. Where did I do that? That way I don't have to write everything down. Okay, come on, escape. That's the trouble. One trouble with this computer and Zoom, I can't, once I share my screen, I can't loop back to another op. Let me stop the share. Let me come back here. Escape, here we go. I'm gonna come back here and I'm just gonna use this spreadsheet here. Let me come back and share my screen now, because this is where I got the data from. Let's see. I gotta zoom, I gotta share my screen. Zoom, share screen. Okay, so to do the 1.5 IQR test, first off, we need to find the interquartile range, IQR. So the way you do that is the IQR, the interquartile range, is you take Q3 and you subtract Q1. So basically you find the middle 50%, the range that the box covers. So for this data set, the upper quartile is 190, the lower quartile is 60. So that gives me 130, which is interesting that that's a median, but that's just a chance happening. Now, to run the test, we have to find 1.5 IQRs. So what's 1.5 times the IQR? Well, that's going to be 1.5 times 130. Well, let's see. I could do this with a calculator, but I'm going to do it in the head. Let's see. Half of 130 is going to be 65, right? So 130 plus 65 is 195. If I did my arithmetic right. So now to get the lower fence, it's the bottom cutoff. I'm going to take the lower quartile and subtract 195. So that lower fence is actually going to be what? Negative 135. So basically zero, because we can't have drinks that are less than 130, less that are zero, right? Or we can have zero drinks, we can't have negative drinks. That would mean if you drank it, you'd lose weight, but just by act of drinking it. That'd be cool. So obviously there's no lower outlier. So there's no lower, the lower fence is negative, no lower outlier. Let's see what the upper fence says. So here's the upper fence. The way you get the upper fence is you're going to take the upper quartile. What is that? 190. Plus we're going to add 195. Well, I think that's 385. So if there's any drinks with more than 385 calories, then that can be considered an outlier. So I'm going to come back here just because I can. I'm going to select this data because I don't want to mess this data up. Come on, scroll all the way down. And then when you get it to sort on a spreadsheet, I don't know if this is new for you. You're going to data. I'm going to go sort range, and I'm going to do advanced sorting options. This is in Google Sheets. Excel has a little bit different thing. I want to sort this by column B because that's where the calories are. Okay. So, yeah, what did I change that to? 200. I'm going to have to resort that. Sorry about that. I was doing an example. I was using this data for my Oxford stats class. And, we were trying to get it to be left skewed and right skewed. And you learn about that chapter 3. Let's see, we're going to sort, arrange, advanced sorting options on B. Here we go. So do we have a number that's bigger than 385? We do not. Our biggest number of calories, at least in this data set, is 360 calories. So there's no upper outlier either. That's why when I did that calculator, I said show outliers, it didn't have any to show. Okay. So that's how you run that IQR test. And sometimes there's outliers. And the reason outliers are important to look at outliers is maybe it's so far away from the rest of the data that's going to affect the mean. And because the mean is affected by extreme values, whereas the median's not. Okay. We'll come up with more than that later. So that's how you read. So I did how do you read the 5-number summary off a box plot, and how do you run that 1.5 IQR test. So hopefully this helps, and we can always do more in the homework if you want, or in the discussion points.